There is a small fire still that we're working with the local first responders to put out.
Right now at 5, the latest on Sunday's train derailment in Sibley as a fire is still burning in that wreckage, keeping large parts of the town closed tonight. Plus, as jury selection begins in the murder trial of the man accused of killing Molly Tibbetts in 2018, we're looking back at the history of that case. And
expanded use of the vaccine for kids raising a lot of questions, like what's the rush? I'm Liz Bonus. We share some answers just ahead.
This is Siouxland News at 5 on CBS 14.
More than 24 hours after a derailed freight train forced the evacuation of part of the Osceola County town of Sibley, large parts of that community remain closed off as crews work to control a fire that's still burning in the wreck. Thanks for joining us. I'm Larry Wentz. Dana Castillo is off, and tonight that story is first at 5 o'clock. Our Katie Koppel joins us live now from Sibley. And Katie, today we learned a lot more about the train and what it was carrying. What's the latest you're hearing?
Yes, Larry. So I'm here in Sibley, Iowa, in Osceola County. This town has about 2,700 people in it, and it's been quite a wild ride the last 24 hours. So right behind me, you can see the derailment. It's about half a mile back, still smoking, and you can see just a pile of cars. Now, a lot of this town, about a 5-mile radius around the derailment, was evacuated yesterday as a precaution because of what is inside these cars. A lot of that evacuation has been lifted, but a good chunk of this city is still cordoned off tonight.
At about 1:45 p.m., approximately 47 cars on a Union Pacific train derailed here in Sibley, Iowa. The impacted cars had hydrochloric acid, potassium hydroxide, and asphalt. It is a small fire still that we're working with the local first responders to put out and cool off as we continue to move cars out.
Other trains that use these tracks have been rerouted by Union Pacific until repairs can be made. Now, this derailment did lead to a 2-hour late start for Sibley Ocheyedan schools this morning.
Any students that were displaced received an excused absence for today. There's a lot of times where you get told, hey, we've got to do something, and you make a decision in the best interest of safety and go with what the officials tell you to do.
Now, with this 2-hour late start also came bus delays, and no buses ran in the evacuated portion of town, and they expect the impacts to the school to be limited into tomorrow. Now, this Union Pacific rail line originates in the Minneapolis area, runs through a good chunk of Iowa, and coming together in Lamars and Sioux City. Again, a lot of this Union Pacific rail line has been rerouted. At this time, they don't have an official cause for this derailment, but they do believe in the early investigations that a bridge collapse could have played a part. I'll be in Sibley for a little while yet to see what else we can learn, but for now, live in Sibley, Iowa, Katie Koppel for Siouxland News. Larry, back to you.
Thank you, Katie. Developing this afternoon, fire crews in Sioux City fighting a blaze in an abandoned house in the west side. That fire reported just before 4 this afternoon near the intersection of Military Road and Castleman Street. Fire crews did have difficulty getting to the house, but eventually were able to start fighting that fire. The cause of the blaze still under investigation at this hour. Well, the clouds all day have just looked like rain is going to eventually fall on us sometime here, Kat.
Yeah, it does appear like we are going to get some rain showers moving in, but it's going to take a little while this afternoon and evening. We have just a few sprinkles popping up from Monona to Thurston County right now, and that's exactly what we're looking at. It's just a few sprinkles. I think showers would be too strong of a word for this at this time. Bank First camera right now looking very overcast as it has been all day. Temperatures are in the mid-60s. East-southeast wind around 14 miles per hour, high humidity, so we are going to see, once we get some actual better moisture in here, we will actually see some showers. Tonight, though, I think we're generally dry, maybe a stray shower or two, but generally we're dry tonight. Now, that can't be said the same for tomorrow, especially into Wednesday. I'll have full details on that coming up.
It's been nearly 3 years since University of Iowa student Molly Tibbetts went missing while jogging in her hometown of Brooklyn, Iowa. Now the nation will watch as the man accused of her murder faces a jury. Tibbetts was reporting missing July 19th of 2018 after she didn't turn up after a run the night before. By August, a reward fund and website was launched and aid in that search to help. Then on August 21st, Tibbetts' body was found in a cornfield in rural Poweshiek County. 24-year-old Christian Bahina Rivera, an undocumented farm worker, was charged with her murder. Her death has since sparked hope and awareness through memorial runs highlighting jogger safety and other fundraisers as well. Christian Bahina Rivera faces first-degree murder. Jury selection for his trial began today in eastern Iowa, Scott County. That trial has been pushed back 6 times, including a delay due to the pandemic. He was also moved out of Poweshiek County over fears a fair trial would not be possible. Attorneys are whittling down a list of potential jurors to find the 12 who will decide the fate of Rivera. Reporter Shannon Mowdy from our sister station KGAN is covering the trial for us, and she takes a look at how we got here.
July 18th, 2018. 20-year-old Molly Tibbetts takes a break from dog sitting at her boyfriend's home to jog the streets of Brooklyn and disappears. Her boyfriend would report her missing the next day.
The response for Molly throughout this whole episode has been surprising to us, but encouraging.
Within days, Molly's story had spread beyond Iowa.
I just want Molly's family to know you're on the hearts of every American.
A website, aerial and ground searches, and massive public attention left investigators with little to go on. They turned to a piece of technology Molly was wearing during her run.
We're hoping to be able to precisely examine and know where she was, when she was there, the pace she was running.
Ultimately, it wouldn't be the Fitbit that broke the case.
We spent hours going through the video trying to, first of all, locate Molly on it. Secondly, see if there's anything suspicious.
A home security camera caught a Chevy Malibu following Tibbetts. Court records say the car was traced back to 24-year-old Christian Bahina Rivera.
He told us that's where we would find her.
Prosecutors say Bahina Rivera led them to Molly's body in a cornfield August 21st. She was laid to rest 5 days later. Her funeral attended by more than 1,000 people. The case has been controversial.
The government has weighed in at the highest levels of a predisposition that this young man, Christian, is guilty.
Bahina Rivera is an undocumented immigrant. That played into moving the trial out of Poweshiek County. And last December, the judge ruled part of Bahina Rivera's statements to police will not be heard in trial, saying he was improperly Mirandized by a Spanish interpreter.
You said you have the right to remain silent. Is that correct?
Silence, yes.
The trial has also been pushed back about 6 times, the most recent delay because of the pandemic. Now the wait for the nation and Molly's family is over.
My daughter was a very gregarious, silly, yet heartfelt person, and she always saw the good in others.
Jury selection continues tomorrow. The actual trial expected to start on Wednesday. Pediatricians and other providers who care for children are getting a lot of questions about why kids should get the COVID-19 vaccine. Medical reporter Liz Bonas takes a look at the data and shares 3 reasons it might make scientific sense.
Hey there, the recent expansion of vaccine emergency use authorization of Pfizer's vaccine for teens has many asking, what's the rush if kids really aren't at high risk of getting serious complications from the virus? Shouldn't we at least wait to give it to younger kids until it has full approval and we know it's safe?
We know that kids can acquire this disease and pass it on to unvaccinated people.
Infectious disease specialist Dr. Stephen Blatt told me the first reason there's been a push to vaccinate teens and younger children, if further research supports it, is that while this CDC data shows they have a low risk of dying from it, they are not at no risk of getting it.
Statistics don't mean much to the individual, right? So if your kid's that rare case that does end up getting sicker, it's just a quality of life thing.
In fact, the American Academy of Pediatrics says children now represent 14% of all COVID-19 cases.
We now know that kids are certainly getting infected at the same rate and in some instances higher than older adults.
The second reason to vaccinate kids is that they make up about 1/4 of the population. So
To get to herd immunity, children are going to need to be vaccinated.
Herd immunity is when enough people are vaccinated or get the virus so it no longer spreads. Without kids getting vaccinated, we likely can't get there. And finally, the third reason there's a push to vaccinate kids is that while they are at low risk of dying right now from the virus, it doesn't mean it will stay that way.
There are reports coming out of Brazil that the Brazilian variant called P1 may be more aggressive against children, and they're seeing a lot of children die from COVID in Brazil right now, and that's very, very concerning.
Now, just one note, the dosing right now is considered low enough in the vaccine to be safe for teens as is, meaning they use the same dose as they do in adults. But in younger ages, that could change as research progresses. I'm medical reporter Liz Bonus. We'll throw it back to you.
The Winnebago Tribe of Nebraska set a milestone in its efforts to vaccinate the community. The tribe has vaccinated 70% of people who are 16 and older. The Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services says the tribe's vaccination efforts are a valuable model for outreach, care, and a positive course of action for future generations. Meanwhile, a vaccination clinic will be held tomorrow in Dakota County, Nebraska, for people who'd like to get the one-shot Johnson & Johnson vaccine. That clinic will be held from 9 until 4 tomorrow at the Health Department inside the Dakota County Courthouse, but you must call to make an appointment. The number is 402-987-2164, and we'll have that number and this information on our website at Siouxlandnews.com. Coming up in 2 minutes tonight at 5, a Nebraska man is waiting extradition from California as police investigate the deaths of his 2 children as a homicide. Plus, the latest from the Gaza Strip, the latest on the conflict between Israel and Hamas enters its second week. That's when Siouxland News at 5 on CBS 14 returns.
You're watching Siouxland News at 5 on CBS 14 with Larry Wentz, Diana Castillo, Chief Meteorologist Kat Taylor, and Owen Sebring with sports. This is Siouxland News at 5 on CBS 14.
A Nebraska man is awaiting extradition from California after police in an Omaha suburb say he killed his 2 young children. The bodies of the 3-year-old boy and 5-year-old girl were found yesterday morning inside a Bellevue, Nebraska home, prompting police to launch a search for the children's father. That man, 35-year-old Adam Price, was found in Pacifica, California near San Francisco and arrested. He's due in court there tomorrow. Police in Bellevue say they're investigating the deaths as homicides. The U.S. says it is working intensively to bring an end to the latest round of violence between Israel and Gaza. But for now, as Tina Kraus reports, that conflict rages on with nearly 200 Palestinians and at least 10 Israelis dying so far.
With a wave of heavy airstrikes, Israel says it destroyed the homes of 9 Hamas commanders in Gaza, as well as miles of tunnels used by Palestinian militants. But as the tunnels collapsed, Israel says a house on top came down too. A 6-year-old girl was pulled from the rubble, but her mother and siblings died in the wreckage. The Biden administration has called on Israel to protect civilian lives, saying as a democracy it carries an extra burden. But Secretary of State Antony Blinken says the country does have a right to defend itself against Hamas.
There is no equivalence between a terrorist group indiscriminately firing rockets at civilians and a country defending its people from those attacks.
As the conflict enters a second week, Hamas has fired more than 3,000 rockets into Israel, one of them destroying this building in the coastal city of Ashdod. A Hamas spokesman says their attacks are in response to Israel's aggression, citing the legal battle to evict Palestinian families from a neighborhood in East Jerusalem. The White House has stopped short of calling for a ceasefire, the press secretary saying only a 2-state solution can end the cycle of violence.
It is going to require both parties wanting to engage in that and wanting to have a discussion about the path forward.
For now, she says, the administration is working behind the scenes using quiet, intensive diplomacy to bring an end to the bloodshed. Tina Kraus, CBS News, London.
Israel has said a media tower it destroyed in Gaza also housed Hamas militants and was therefore a legitimate target, but the Biden administration has not confirmed receiving intelligence to support that claim.
And rain chances are low, but not zero over the next 48 hours, especially as we head into Wednesday. Our rain chances really explode. I'll have details on what that means for your forecast after the break.
Your first look forecast with Chief Meteorologist Kat Taylor.
I don't know about the rest of Siouxland, Kat, but I know over the weekend here in the metro area, Mother Nature kind of teased us that we might get some hard rain.
Yeah, she did. And you know what? She's still going to keep doing that for the next 48 hours until we do actually get hard rain, I think generally on Wednesday afternoon. So it's just going to keep staying cloudy and still humid out there. It's 66 right now, and I think thanks to the very dense cloud cover, we really haven't had the opportunity to warm up today. Normal for this time of year is about 73. Now, if you take a look at Doppler radar, we have a few little sprinkles there in Thurston County, but really that's it. So we don't have a lot going on, but it sure looks like it's about to rain in our City of Kingsley camera. Dark, thick cloud cover at 64, east winds around 15 miles an hour. Humidity, though, on the higher side, dew point a shade under 60. Temperatures right now in the mid 60s area wide. Now that's pretty comfortable, especially when you factor in dew points in the 50s and 60s. So dew points are a way to measure humidity, and right now at about 58 degrees for a dew point, we're pretty comfortable. But if you believe it or not, by the end of the week, we're definitely going to be in the sticky category with dew points well into the 60s. So that's when you really start to feel the humidity. Future radar showing maybe some more sprinkles into the evening and overnight hours. And then tomorrow morning, we start with maybe a few showers and even a few thunder showers possible after lunchtime tomorrow. I don't think it's going to be as widespread as this, but we could see a couple chances there. I think it's more of a tease with the rain chances for tomorrow. 53 degrees tonight, mostly cloudy. A stray shower can't be ruled out. Tomorrow we see some scattered showers, 70 degrees. It's going to be cloudy but pretty mild. Now over the next 7 days, you will notice that we have some great rain coming in, especially Wednesday afternoon and Wednesday night. That's going to be our best chance for rain and thunderstorms. I think we could actually get some stronger thunderstorms the more we head into the week. We see increasing temperatures over the next 7 days, increasing humidity. Those are some of the conditions that we need for better thunderstorm chances, especially as we head into next week. I think we're going to start looking at a little bit more severe weather chances for next week. So we're going to keep a very close eye on that. You'll notice as we warm up, we start to get those better conditions for stronger storms starting Friday. And we start to see our chances actually go down to actually see rain. But that also allows us to see more sunshine and warmer temperatures, 84 for a week from today.
All right, thanks, Kat. Coming up in 2 minutes tonight at 5, an associate of a Florida congressman embroiled in the child sex trafficking allegations pleads guilty. What it could mean for that congressman. Plus,
the Supreme Court announcing it will hear a second major abortion case later this year. I'm Atrell Nashar at the Supreme Court with how a decision in this case could impact abortion laws across the country.
a friend of Florida Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz has pleaded guilty to multiple crimes related to a sex trafficking investigation. As part of that agreement, Joel Greenberg must cooperate fully with investigators within any scope of their probe. Greenberg faces a mandatory minimum of 10 years in prison. Gaetz is under investigation as well, but has not been charged with any crimes. The close ally of former President Trump says he's the victim of an extortion attempt, and Gaetz denies paying for sex or having sex with a minor. The U.S. Supreme Court has agreed to take up two big abortion cases that could impact what kind of laws states can pass. The High Court adding a case out of Mississippi in what will make for a momentous term starting this fall. St. Clair national correspondent Atre El-Nashar takes a close look at what implications this could have.
Two new abortion cases could give more clarity about where the new Supreme Court stands on the issue, possibly challenging Roe v. Wade. The court announcing Monday it will hear a case calling into question the constitutionality of a 2018 Mississippi law banning most abortions after 15 weeks.
And I don't think any of us should be surprised.
George Washington University professor Sonia Suter says she fully expected the Supreme Court to take up the case because of the conservative makeup of the court and recent efforts by Republican state lawmakers to pass laws restricting abortions before a fetus is viable.
It is possible that the court overturns Roe v. Wade outright, but I don't think you have to here. And I think that there would be some pressure not to, but you can chip away, and this would be a pretty big chip. I think this would be pretty much of a gouge.
Pro-life groups celebrating Monday, the Susan B. Anthony List president calling it a landmark opportunity, while Planned Parenthood says it puts 25 million people at risk of losing abortion access. The court announcing earlier this year it will also hear a case out of Kentucky about a state ban on a common abortion method.
There are a lot of members of the court who are uncomfortable with the argument, the underlying constitutional argument for the right to abortion.
Meanwhile, the president still hopes to see Roe v. Wade codified as official law, regardless of decisions made by the high court.
The president and the vice president are devoted to ensuring that every American has access to health care, including reproductive health care.
But such a law would be difficult to pass in a divided Congress, and even then could be challenged in the courts.
The court will begin hearing arguments later this fall, but it's likely a ruling won't be announced until next summer. At the Supreme Court, I'm Atrell Nashar reporting.
There's now a bipartisan push in Congress to require companies to tell the government when they've been hacked. According to a news organization called Politico, Democratic Senator Mark Warner and his Republican counterpart Marco Rubio are leading that campaign. This comes after the Colonial Pipeline was taken offline by a ransomware attack. Now, the report states the planned legislation started after last year's massive SolarWinds espionage campaign. The pipeline hack just added urgency to this effort. Most private companies are not required to report cyber attacks. Kat joining us now for a last look at your forecast.
Yeah, big stories are going to be rain chances every single day. Not all rain chances are created equal in this 7-day. Also, an increase in humidity as we go along every single day. As we head into next week, humidity values are going to be very sticky. I wouldn't say oppressive, but sticky, with dew points in the mid-60s. Obviously, can definitely be worse this time of year. But rain chances are every single day. I'd say Wednesday and Thursday is your best bet to actually pick up most rainfall, and we're warming up into the 80s over the weekend. Thanks for watching.